Welcome to First Talk Live with Pastor Jay. I trust all of you are having a great morning so far, and I'm assuming that we are live. I think we're live now. We've had some difficulties this morning. I don't know if there's a bunch of people going live at this time now, but again, for those of you who are tuning in, and if I for some reason we were cut off, but let me welcome you to First Talk Live with Pastor Jay this morning. I am here celebrating with you guys Passion Week, Resurrection Week. It is This is a great, an awesome time of the year as we all take the opportunity to celebrate, remember all the events leading up to the death, the burial, and the resurrection ultimately of Jesus Christ. And so let me just ask that you all really take this time. I know this year is different for all the obvious reasons, but let me just really encourage you to take this time to celebrate this time, not let the events that are happening, unfolding, the news that constantly is changing, the reports that are depressing. Don't let all those things in any way uh, prevent you from really celebrating this time. Look, let's just keep be just let's be reminded. I'm gonna get my words out this morning. Let's be reminded that Jesus is still on the throne. He's alive. He is in control, even when things seem out of control. They are all being worked together to serve the purposes that God has ordained. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to us. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's like God has just abandoned us or forsaken us, or if God was a loving God, how would he let these things happen? I mean, I know the thoughts that just kind of flood the minds and imaginations of many of us. But I want you to pause for a moment. I want you to stop and I want you to consider how much you have to be thankful for, how much God has really shown himself and proven himself over and over and over again in your life and my life. Thank him and then celebrate this time. This is a time to celebrate. And we may not be able to celebrate it like we traditionally do with family, with friends, in our church homes, and with our church families, but nonetheless, we do get to celebrate it, and we all get to share in a moment together, and that's really what I want to encourage you to do, even if you're not able to be collectively joined in one place. We all can in one moment, and so I'm really encouraging you to take this opportunity to see it from that perspective. This morning, I want to share a message with you. It's called "Life is a Gift, Not a Burden." And I again, it's just one of those things been kind of stirring in me, and something I just really want to take a moment to share with you because the question can be posed to each and every one of us. How often do we recognize our life as a gift? Or do we more often see it as a burden? We see every day that we wake up. We see every responsibility. We see every trouble, every form of suffering. We see it all as a burden that we're trying to carry. Life is a burden. I would tell people sometimes you can recognize those who have learned to live life and those who life has lived them. I think some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. People who look like they're just wore out. They've just been beaten up by life. And maybe that's you this morning. Maybe that's how you feel. Maybe with the things that you've been going through, even before this whole pandemic situation, before the coronavirus took its grip hold of us as a nation, as a world, you as an individual, and the life that you had one day you woke up to, and it was no longer the same kind of life. Before all that happened, maybe there were things that were going on in your life, and you were like, life is just it is too burdensome. You want to just kind of throw the covers over your head and not get up out of bed certain mornings. There are times you just want to shut everything out and you just want to turn on the TV and you just want to kind of veg there and pretend like life outside the walls and the doors of your home just doesn't exist. When life gets to be that kind of burden, it's impossible to live it like God intended for you and I to live it. We carry and we shoulder things that we were never intended to carry and shoulder, and yet we do it anyway. And the question is, okay, why? Why is it that life has become the burden upon me, and it's not the gift that I am intended to see it as? When something is a gift, it doesn't come with uh, the suffering. It doesn't come with the regrets. It doesn't come with the problems that, let's say, something that you are having to carry and shoulder would. And yet Jesus said, "The thief has come to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come that you might have life, and that you might have it more abundantly." Well, it's God's intention for us to live life. Life was a gift He gave us for us to experience. And I want you to hear what I'm about to say and listen to this very carefully. I would often say it at Gateway. Okay, all eyes on me now. God gave us life as a gift to experience His goodness. And you say, well, preacher, I don't feel like the goodness of God is anywhere close to my life. In fact, I got all these issues. I got all these problems. Well, I'm not going to discount that there are many problems that you may have, I may have, many struggles, many sufferings, many sorrows even that we are faced with in this life. That's just part of it. Is when we face them, how do we face them? Do we consume them? Do we take them on as our responsibility, or do we learn to trust God with what we cannot control ourselves? And there lies the difference, oftentimes, in which ones of us learn to really position ourselves to experience the goodness of God, or those of us who are looking to take on things apart from God and kind of deal with them on our own. There's a few thoughts I want to share with you, thoughts that I wrote down. One is this, and this is what Jesus said. So listen very carefully to this scripture in Matthew 11, verse 28 through 30, and listen to this well. He said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens." Anybody out there carrying some heavy burdens this morning? Are you waking up just barely able to breathe, barely able to open your eyes? You have to fake a smile. Uh, is that you? Are you carrying some heavy burdens? He says, "Come to me." Jesus said, "Come to me." He says, "And I will give you rest." Wow. Now, come on. He is saying, look, those things that are keeping you up at night, those burdens that you're carrying that won't let you sleep at night, won't let go of your mind, won't let go of your thoughts. They just torment you from the time that you wake up to the time that you lay down. Sometimes they don't let you lay down at all. Those things, if you are carrying those, bring them to me, come to me, and I will give you rest. How awesome is that promise? Then he goes on to say, "Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls." This is Jesus talking. "For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Jesus said, if you're carrying these things that are a burden to you, they are preventing you from experiencing the gift and goodness that life was intended for you to experience. Come to me, bring them to me, and I will give you rest. I will teach you, I will show you, and you will find rest for your soul. So again, let's maybe ask, what is it about life, the way we approach life, the way we live life, that makes life a burden for you and me? What causes it to lose its flavor of goodness and sweetness as God intended for life to be for each and every one of us? Well, a couple things I want to share. One is life becomes a burden when we live it in such a way we are trying to earn the love, approval, and acceptance of others. If you and I are living this life trying to gain the love, the approval, the acceptance of others, we make ourselves a slave to those whose approval and acceptance we're trying to gain. When we do that, then everything they think, everything they say, everything they do, it carries such weight and volume in our life that we don't know how to live life. Now, this is the beauty of Jesus. This is the beauty of what he brings to the table for us. Because guess what? I don't have to earn the love of Jesus. I don't have to earn the approval or the acceptance of Jesus. He already has it in him. It's already in his heart for me. So what does that allow me to do? That allows me the liberty to live. Now, not recklessly, not carelessly, not sinfully, but to live, not trying to earn and afraid that everything I do or anything I say will somehow discredit me from being loved, discredit me from being accepted. When you live in that state of mind, you cannot live. Life becomes a burden. Some of you are in those types of relationships. Some of you are in those relationships at work. You're in those relationships with friends. You're in that type of relationship in your marriage, and it's tormenting. It's a burden. You feel like you have to watch everything you say. You feel like you have to watch everything you do, and the slightest mess up will just it will send chaos rippling through. And so you live in this fear. And that's why the scripture also says that perfect love casts out fear. Because if I really love you, if Jesus really loves you, we don't have to fear our losing his love because of something we said or something we did. When you understand that, then you and I are free. We're free to live. Life becomes a gift we can live and not a burden we have to carry. Another thought is this: when we bear responsibilities our pride has assigned to us. And what does that mean? To those of you who are watching and who will maybe later be watching this episode of First Talk, how many times do we take on responsibilities that were really not our responsibility? Our pride assigned to us that responsibility. We had something we needed to prove. We had, even if it was to ourselves or to someone else, we assigned ourselves responsibilities that were not our responsibilities. And when we assign those types of responsibilities to ourselves, they become burdens to us. Oftentimes, we do it because we're trying to prove something. We are in a competition mindset with either ourselves or with someone else. And this is a very dangerous thing to do. In fact, if you really break down the word responsibility, it is the response of your and my ability. It is the healthy response of our ability in a situation. There are things that I have come to understand I just can't do. I don't have the skill set to do. I don't have the knowledge to do. So if those are things that fall outside the scope of my ability, I'm not going to assign myself to those tasks. I'm not going to assign myself to those roles that aren't given to me to carry out because I don't have the ability. And for me to assume it would be a false responsibility, which translates into a burden I cannot carry. It creates anxiety, it creates stress. We do that for people, and sometimes we do it out of love for people. Sometimes we take on a false responsibility for the people we love because we don't want to see them hurt. We don't want to see them suffer. So then we take it upon ourselves to do what we think is best and right for them, when really we are enabling their situation. And we get tired because it's like nothing that we do is really changing anything. Our pride just assigned us a responsibility that wasn't ours to take. And we don't like to say it's pride. We want to say it's something else. We want to say, well, I really love them. And I don't discount that. I don't discredit that. I've been there. I know. As a pastor, I've done this so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've done this. And it's taken many times for me to learn the lesson the hard way. But when we really peel the layers back, it's a pride thing. And we have to be careful that our pride does not assign us the wrong responsibilities. There are things that maybe you're doing that you're not meant to do. Maybe there are people you've taken on that you were not meant to take on. And it's like no matter how much you try, it's draining to you, it's a burden to you. Well, if God hasn't given you the grace to take that on, don't take it on. If the more you try to help, the more you grow resentful, you need to let that go. Doesn't mean that you don't love the person, but the assignment you've given yourself and responsibility is not from God, is one that you've taken on and now is a burden. And they've become a burden. Another another one is this. How does life become a burden? So that we don't see it as a gift? When we see trouble and struggle as our mission to fix, and ultimately we fail at doing it. Has there ever been a has there ever been a situation, a problem, a trouble you've been in that you've tried to fix, and the more you've tried to fix it, the worse it got? Well, and then after it just continues to get worse, you feel like a failure. Maybe you out there today, you are thinking of a very particular situation, or maybe several situations that have come into your life. And you've tried to do this and you've tried to do that to fix this situation, to fix that problem. And every attempt, every every decision that you've made in an effort to fix it has failed. And it's just gotten worse. And now it's like you just don't have the virtue to even wake up, to even deal with life. This is what Jesus, or what the scripture says. In fact, it's in 1 Peter 5:7. Says this. It says, cast all your anxiety upon him, for he cares for you. So maybe instead of trying to fix your problem, you need to learn how to release your problem. Maybe instead of trying to uh, to uh, to to fix the issue that you're suffering in, maybe you need to just bring it to the Lord. Maybe you need to learn how to really release it. Not just say, here, God, I give it to you. And the moment you turn around, you're putting your hands back into it, trying to make it work again. You can't do that. What does it mean to really just release it to God? In your heart, you trust him with the process and the outcome. I'm going to say that again. You trust him with the process and the outcome. See, the process is something we don't like. The process often takes us through these moments where things look scary, things look intimidating, things look like they're impossible. That process that he has us in is revealing things in our own hearts that we need to we need to give to him. Be it fear, be it mistrust, maybe anger or resentment of things and people in the past. That process is meant to reveal some things to you and me about ourselves so that we can bring it to the Lord and we can allow him to address those things in our own life. And then the outcome will be so much greater than you or I could ever have ever thought or imagined. But we got to release it. We have to learn to just trust him with the process and the outcome. And part of learning to trust him in the process is learning to trust his timing in that process. Sometimes it's not going to be overnight. In fact, my experience, as I'm sure many of you have out there, you've learned that it's not an overnight thing. It can be days, it could be weeks, it could be months, sometimes even years. But the process, if we learn to trust him with it, can become a very beautiful thing for you and I. And so learning how to trust him in that process and the timing of that process positions us to come through it and see the outcome in a way that just elevates our hearts with thanksgiving to God because he has done some amazing things through it. Have you ever heard the old adage, hindsight is 2020? That often occurs when we've allowed God to take us through the process, come out the other side, and we look back and we go, that's what you were doing. Why couldn't I have seen that? I mean, how many times have we asked that question on the backside of an issue or a problem? Why couldn't I have seen that at the time? Well, we don't see it while we're standing or walking through the process. Is when we get to the other side and we're there and we are celebrating the victory. We're celebrating our coming through. We recognize, oh God, that's what you were doing the whole time. You've got to learn how to trust God, not try to fix and fail in the problems, the troubles, the situations that you're struggling with. And last but not least, when we assume control of those lives we observe as being out of control. Now, I don't know if I'm talking to any control freaks out there. I've been one. It's something, again, a lesson God has learned or has taught me, and I've had to learn that that I do not have the capacity to control a life beyond my own. That's again something so important to recognize and realize that a person's choices are and the decisions they make for themselves and their life is not my burden to take on, as if you know um, I'm meant to fix it for them. Here's the thing. I want you to remember this. When we give ourselves to try and control someone else because we see their life being a life that's out of control, then whenever they don't make decisions that we think they should make in alignment with what we see them needing and should do, we take their failure personally. We make it something that is personal for ourselves. That's wrong. God never intended for you and I to take that position with any life. Now, he may use us to pray for people. He may use us to speak into people's lives. He may use us to serve those people. All of that does not have to, nor should it ever, equate to our controlling them or feeling like we need to control their situation. We need to control their choices. That right there is a dangerous place to find yourself. And when you find yourself there, and when you begin to, whether it's intentional or unintentional, take that mindset on to yourself, you then you take it personally, every decision, every choice they make. And all of a sudden now your life is tied, it is harnessed to, it is yoked to the choices and the decisions that they are making. Your happiness is determined by what they do or don't do. Your peace is determined by what they do or don't do. Your sense of fulfillment is determined by what they do or don't do. Here's my advice to you: don't do that. Because when you do that, when I do that, then life becomes a burden. It's no longer a gift because now it's tied to someone else in an unhealthy and unproductive way. Jesus said, look, these things that you've taken on, bring them to me. Place them on me. They're my burden to carry. When Jesus buried, when he took the burden of the cross upon his shoulders, he took the burden of our lives upon his shoulders. Don't allow what he did to be in vain because we refused to give it to him. He took it. So give it. Release it. Let him have it and trust him with it. When you do, and I do, then life becomes a gift we learn how to live and embrace, not a burden we fear and we are intimidated by. This is First Talk Live with Pastor Jay this Wednesday morning during Passion Week, Resurrection Week. I want to invite you. I'm going to do a special on Friday, Good Friday. I'm going to just talk about the cross and what Jesus did on the cross. So join me. The time will be different. It will be Friday at 8 a.m., not 6 a.m., but 8 a.m. this Friday for Good Friday. I'm going to share some things on the cross. So join me and invite your friends and family. If you would do me the favor of sharing this message this morning to those on your social media, your friends, your family, I would really appreciate you doing that. And then again, join me at Pastor J Ministries. There's a page here on Facebook, Pastor J Ministries, Sunday evening, 7 o'clock for the second episode of Living Fearless in Fearful Times. This is a message I'm bringing. It's a series I'm bringing to Pastor J Ministries. You'll find it on the Pastor J Ministries page. So look that up here on Facebook, follow it, like it, and be on the lookout Sunday evening, 7 p.m. for that message, Living Fearless in Fearful Times. I love you all. I appreciate you. And if you would like to support Pastor J Ministries, feel free to do so. There's information on how you can. I am honored and I am blessed by every single one of you, and that is, I mean that sincerely. We're in a different time right now. We're walking through some things together, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to walk it out together. It's my mission with Pastor J Ministries to just empower you, equip you with tools you can use to grow and to succeed, prosper in the new life you and I possess in Christ Jesus. Again, this is First Talk Live with Pastor Jay. I love each and every one of you, and I will see you Friday morning at 8 a.m.